Hi, Daniel. How are you today?
Hi, Mark. Great. How are you?
Doing great. Welcome to the Better Human podcast. We're doing this interview because I hear that you're a presenter at the Kindful Canada Symposium in Winnipeg in October.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, looking forward to that event. Got a great group of people and just excited to, get to that day and just collaborate and share with such amazing um, influences in the space of, human performance, healing, recovery, humanity, soulful expression of your gifts. Yeah, it's going to be a beautiful day.
I love it. I kind of get a sense of where you're going to be going with this. So, Daniel, maybe tell us a little bit about your journey. I know that you've had quite the excursion to be where you're at today, including a lot of um, things you had to overcome. Do you want to kind of share your story on how you're able to be in this present moment now and being able to help others with your story?
Cool. Yeah, thanks, Mark. It's been as everyone has an interesting story to their life, you often learn along the way, what that invisible thread is through your life and what kind of makes you who you are. You find yourself and your identity and, all the things you have to go through, sure, like how you were raised and, maybe you have a pathological condition, maybe it's your environment, maybe it's minus 40 outside, maybe it's 35 plus outside. There's so many different things that can affect your life and all of our lives. So the thing that affected me the most was a neuromuscular condition from a very young age, which linked to my joint hypermobility. So it's called myofascial pain syndrome. Essentially, people with hypermobility all have some sort of spectrum of tension patterns that try and stabilize the joints just through movements, just walking around, sleeping a different way. Your joints are always trying to find themselves in space. So at 8 years old, I was very active. I got diagnosed ADHD. My parents refused to put me on any medication. They didn't really believe in that at the time. They said, no, he's got so much energy, he's just bouncing off the walls. And all the teachers are like, man, we can't, this kid is like, he's so bored, but also like he needs to just sit and learn because this is insane. So my parents just opted for, you know what, we'll just put him in every single activity that he can think of. We'll just drain the energy out of him and hopefully that will work. And, at least he'll learn some stuff along the way and keep him out of trouble. So 9 years old, yeah, I started getting into sport, a lot more sport. I'd done like karate and soccer and, swimming and just getting used to movements. I grew up on a farm on the weekends in South Africa, so I was very active outdoors, working with my body, doing hay bales, milking cows, feeding the livestock and, going through barbed wire fences and all that stuff. So I had a pretty um, active lifestyle already. But along the way, I constantly felt like something was different, like something was off. Couldn't put my finger on it. And it started with growing pains, which is essentially the first symptom that I ever had. And these growing pains that I had were for nearly every other night for years from 9 8 9 years old. And at the time my parents, I would wake up in the evening writhing with pain and get into the bathtub, and my parents get out and rub my legs and put all this like heat on it. They thought like heat relaxes you. So turns out 20 plus years later, no, actually you should have used cold. So
Mm-hmm.
but my family did what they could best. And yeah, then it started, it didn't go away. So it started with shin splints. Then it was stud pressure, which is when you wear rugby boots or blades, the pressure from those studs distributes into your foot and it basically creates plantar fasciitis throughout the whole foot. So that was another compensation from the shin splints. And then the shin splints, with shin splints, your tibia and your fibula rotate, and the interosseous membrane inside there rotates with it. So it's really painful. And then that's the third thing from that was, now it's like I'm close 14, 15. I'm unable to run up and bowl in cricket. I can't walk up a set of stairs without feeling excruciating pain. Every step just shooting to my brain. It felt like sometimes going up my spine. Sometimes it was so painful, it made me want to pass out. So I started dealing with this pain from a young age and thinking, well, no, you know what? Everyone else is also in this type of pain. I just need to suck it up. So then it became a big part. I never told anyone, other than my family. My parents knew, and I didn't really understand it. So what am I going to tell them? Hey, yeah, do you want to hear about me complaining about how much pain I'm in? But why you're in pain? Oh, well, you're doing all these things, so don't do those things. So I kept it to myself. It was like, you know what? Uh, I was running at 10. I was 10 years old, and then I realized, okay, now it's been, 2 years. It's not getting better. I'm thinking I'm playing rugby. I'm a captain of this rugby team, and I really want to be a sportsman one day. But I'm running this cross country race, and I'm like 2 kilometers in, running barefoot, and I'm just every step just killing me. And I made a promise to myself while running. I said, you know what? You can be an athlete, but athletes don't just push, push, push. You have to learn how to manage this over time. Otherwise, you won't be able to run like this for long. Like, this is not, I knew straight away, if I keep pushing like this. So fast forward 3 years later, what happened? 15 years old, and the doctor was like, now you've got chronic exercise-induced compartment syndrome, which is the fascia that holds the tibialis anterior, the front of your shin, a certain muscle there. There was so much constriction of fascia, and the muscle was so inflamed, and it was pushing on the nerves, and the compartment needed to be cut open. And they said, we can do this, or you can stop running and see if it goes away. And they were like, you can't, if you continue like this, you're just going to have really major damage and multiple operations. So you should switch to something else. Is there anything else you can do? So I was like, well, I'm pretty good at everything, but if I had to choose the lowest impact thing, it would be swimming. And swimming, I felt good. Hypermobility, again, didn't realize at the time, so good. The breathing, great for the vagus nerve, relaxing, like, floating in water, having that decompression, amazing for my body. So I naturally was like, oh, I want to do swimming. I don't want to get concussions 3 times in a row from rugby, which happened in a row. So that was also deterred me. Like, I never had any injuries from swimming. Not many, not many people, other than rotator cuff and stuff, but like major life altering injuries, I kind of wanted to avoid. And yeah, the pain just continued. So I went full-time swimming. 15 was good, got a little bit better, 16, and then I took it seriously. I was like, okay, I actually have a lot of potential in here. I've been focusing on just one thing rather than 10 different things. And at 16, I switched to a different club. The club coach was evidently the South African coach. Swam under him for about a year and a half, and then went from like a B level swimmer to open level, top 10 in the country in my age group, and then top number one in the country in my age group at 17, and then top 10 in the country in open overall. So that was my first major performance breakthrough that I had. But along the way, the whole time, when I say I don't, myofascial pain syndrome is essentially every muscle fiber in your body will fire. If you're doing something, I'm picking up something, I'm reaching for something, your muscles are always activating. But some of my muscles, they don't turn off. So the signal will be sent, and let's say I do that signal over and over and over again, right? And then I get repetitive strain. And then my nervous system, let's say I'm doing, a full body workout 5 times a week. At the end of the week, I'm like so drained. My muscles are sore. I've got trigger points pulling up all over the place. I'm trying to figure out where's this coming from? My joints are snapping. My ankles are snapping. My knees are clicking. And it always led to me just pushing on my tissue and thinking, man, okay, I'd find this spot and I'd like hold it and then just follow it and then release it. And then I used to think, man, maybe I'm damaging something in my body. I don't know what I'm doing, but it's working. And it's definitely not an injury because it's all over my body. It's definitely not only a muscle, because why would my muscle be really tight? And then why does some of that feel like tendon? And then why does some of that feel like crisscrossed all over the place like a spider web, and then why does some of it feel flat and smooth? So I started picking up all these data points just intrinsically, and I would push on in a certain area, all of a sudden, oh, my ankle's not clicking anymore, my knee's okay, my shoulder feels better. And yeah, I mean, I had to slowly learn how to optimize my training schedule, my nutrition, my hydration, because there's no cure for what I have. It's essentially you get multiple MS, multiple sclerosis, and then you get fibromyalgia, which is a, a subsection of, or the top section of myofascial pain syndrome. So it can elevate. People with myofascial pain syndrome, can go into fibromyalgia uh, flares, as we call it. And then your nervous system is just all over the place. There's just systemic tension, and and there's so many points to tie in here, but essentially it came down to my nervous system. So I was doing everything, the training was right, the hydration was right, the sleeping, the exercise, it was all, I never drank a drop of alcohol until I was 24. Well, until that's my sister's birthday when I was 14, but I was best man and I was forced into that. But, when I was 24, I was like, okay, now I've done what I've wanted to do performance wise. Now let's, start a family, met a girl, had kids, all that stuff. But keeping performance my entire life was always my number one goal because I knew something was going on. Fast forward, I got into musical theater during my swimming years. So then I left musical theater, played Troy in High School Musicals, the stage show of Disney's production in South Africa. So then I was always singing behind the scenes, doing my own training. And then I got into musical theater, singing, dancing, acting. And that was a completely different world of movements because swimming is just, and I was moving side to side with rugby, hadn't done that for like 5 years. Now all of a sudden I'm going from just up and down to three-dimensional movements and seeing all these amazing actors and ballerinas and break dancers and just unbelievable performers at the top of their game. And speaking to a lot of them had injuries, and injuries that never really went away. um, and it became frustrating for me because by the age of 21, I left musical theater, and then I got into fitness bodybuilding or modeling, and then met some guys. They were like, you know what, you're not a model, like you used to be an athlete, or you don't swim anymore, but why don't you do fitness modeling? So fitness modeling is you get into the gym, you train to look good, you get some aesthetics, eat as much as you can, get on a proper strict schedule of everything. You really have to lock down and become super dedicated to that craft. And I did that for 5 years professionally. And then for 10 years leading up to that, I was already building my base of, a little bit of bodybuilding. So I went from athletic movements to swimming, one-dimensional plane, kind of in a way, even though you use all your muscles in swimming, and then to on-land movements and art form and performance, and doing shows in front of 3,000 people every night, 12 shows a week. You have to, and you're still training, you're using your brain, you learning scripts, you're learning harmonies, you showing up for work on time, like you never miss a show, the show must go on. It's a lot of pressure. You got the top directors and stage management, and you're flying on a harness across the stage. Like if you mess up anything over that year period, like it can go wrong for everything. It can affect the whole show. you know, Swimming in front of thousands of people, I never really, it didn't affect me. It actually made me more focused. I just like zoning into myself, but it's a different type of feel when people are really watching you. Because when you're in the water, you're in there and you're doing your thing and that's cool. But when you're on stage, you're exposing yourself and everyone's listening to every, tone that comes out your mouth, or how you said something, or did that land properly, or it's compounding pressure. So that was a big pressure point that I broke through, and learning to dance. And there was a lot of pain in my body back then. And then I got into the fitness bodybuilding, and then I really saw, I was like, man, I can't continue like this. I'm like, my trigger points were just out of control. So I met a guy who was 20 when I was 21, and I apprenticed him. He was a kinesiologist, acupressurist, sports massage therapist. And working with him, when I started working with him, I got on his table. He's like, man, so do you know anything about the body? I'm like, no, actually, I know how to release tissue, and like I work on myself a lot. He's like, hey, you haven't worked with anyone else? I was like, no, I've worked with so many people, but I can't find someone who can help me. It just feels like I'm plugging a leaking ship. I don't even know if it is possible, but my body's just in a lot of pain. And obviously, I was just thinking, still, 21 years old. Well, other people feel this too. I'm just pushing the envelope. I'm just really at the top of my game, and I'm just hammering my body. Let's see what happens. So apprenticed him. His massage technique was the first time I'd met someone that actually knew how to manipulate tissue without just going in and breaking up tissue.
Mm.
And I think this is a very important thing for which I love educating. The whole purpose of Axiom healing is not just to work with people and put my hands on people and rehabilitate and train. And it's about, can I teach you something that's helped me over time and give it to you so you can utilize it so you don't experience what I've experienced. And we've all experienced it. We all have these injuries that just niggle and don't go away. And it's frustrating. It saps your energy. It changes your mood. It affects your breathing. It affects your walking. It affects your sleeping. All of this subconsciously, this all affects your nervous system. Your nervous system, and we think, like, oh, yeah, we have nervous system. Your nervous system is the number one, that's the engine. So if you're not taking care of the engine, it's like when you wake up in the morning, you start moving, and oh man, I feel that's your nerves firing.
Mm.
Like you've just been lying down for nearly 8 hours, rolled over a little bit. Your nerves run through a sheath where they like 4 millimeters of movement, right? And there's like fluid exchange around it, there's fascia around it, there's compression and tension. They need movement and warmth because what happens with movement, friction, heat online. So top professional athletes, we've learned over time to, like, we people call it warm up. You say, oh no, he's warming up. Oh, Usain Bolt's warming up. He's priming his nervous system precisely. He's just not going through the motions, and he's turning on certain
Mm.
muscle groups one at a time, like going through a house, being like, hey, I want to check this house out. What is in this house? There must be gold here, but I'm not going to look for the gold and go into every single and just like look in a dark room. I'm going to turn on every light. So it goes on, kind of like powering up a jet ship. Turn this on, turn that on, put that on, boom, prime. Okay, it's rotating. And then you get to the point where you can maximally perform at your 100% efficiency, and you take your nervous system to 100%. So you can do that, but you can't do that every day or every week or every other day over a period of 10, 15, 20, 30 years. Look at all the top sportsmen in the world, Olympics, think about gymnasts. They get on that bar and they're doing a iron cross or a muscle up, and they're holding their body up like that. They look amazing. They've polished that for that 1 minute routine, decades and decades of training and injury and breaks and sprains and ruptures, whatever. They've got to push through all of that. So, not everyone wants to be a top extreme athlete. And I thought, as soon as I had kids as well, and my whole life goal, remember, is I want to live as long as I can. I want to be 100 years old and see longevity. I want to be capable in my late age. And having kids gave that to me. I was saying, well, now I've got to move around with them, pick them up, rock them, play with them, change them from this arm to that arm. It was COVID, so I was really fortunate enough that my first son was 1 year, and my second son was born 2020 November 2020. So I was with my boys as a
Mm.
primary caretaker for 4 years, immigrating to Canada. I should have started with that. I'm from South Africa. Um, so I immigrated with my wife, who was from Winnipeg, moved here. And, being a parent and being able to do stuff with my kids, fishing with them, bending down, you're playing with them on playgrounds, chasing them, jumping off the playground, landing safely, moving around, like also them interacting with me doing that became one of my greatest joys of, now I'm leading my kids. Now I'm teaching my kids how to do that. And just in such an authentic way, taking care of movement um, over time. So yeah, tying it back in, because I will tie back in. My nervous system from being in South Africa, being a kid, was really affected, which I didn't realize at the time. I was 4 years old. My dad was shot in an attempted hijacking. He survived, but my mom was in the car next to him. That was one of my first memories, him coming home. No, dad's been shot. 6 weeks after that, my grandmother died. So that was also one of my first major memories on my dad's side from all the stress. A year after that, then my dad had a double bypass heart attack, nearly died again. So now he's like, man, and then I'm just hearing sirens in the road and gunshots in the road. And I'm thinking every night, when is someone going to break into this house? Because I keep seeing it down the road. We wake up, what's happening at the neighbors? Oh no, someone broke in, the police are there. So I guess I buried that a little bit. Or you live there, but you have a little bit of delusion. You also have a little bit of street smarts. You start being aware of things a lot more. But I didn't realize how that I always consider myself not an anxious person. So mentally I wasn't anxious, but physically that
Your
mentality
nervous
was
system
going
was.
into me. So it was. But I just had a way of disassociating from it, because a lot of people do that, right, to keep safe. It's just a part of your brain. But it also held on in my tissue, and then I was like, well, I'm just very active. So it was masked behind all of this. Fast forward to 2028, major injuries. I was left bodybuilding, came fourth in the world fitness bodybuilding when I was 24, and trained myself, coached other people to do competitions, got pro cards. Some just wanted to do it to, see what they could do with their body. And it was around 2012 is when I started coaching people. About a year in, I thought, you know what? This extreme way of like restricting this, and like it's got to be exactly that, and no salt and no sauce and no burgers and no pizza, no chocolate, no ice cream. I was like, what? But I can burn those calories, but I can't burn those all. Like, I'm not going to eat that all the time, but surely I can burn those calories and I can still make progress. I don't have to like constantly restrict. Maybe like 3 weeks before the show, tighten it up a lot. 3 months before the show, 6 months before the show, 9 months before the show. So I started building these systems in my mind of like, how can I replicate this over time for myself in terms of conditioning? And the conditioning became part of rehabilitating myself, because then I felt every time I conditioned an imbalance, I would feel, oh, okay, I feel really good. Okay, I feel really good. Then I'd push it a little bit too much, and I'm like, oh, now I've got a trigger point down my back, down my neck, rotated my pelvis, my SI joint is out. Like, when you sneeze and you rotate your back and you pull your back like that, that's a little muscle in between the vertebra that is it's just pulled too quickly, and it's just weakened, and bang, spasm. Now you're in pain for weeks, right? So all of these things started happening to me by the hour. It wasn't even daily or weekly or monthly. It was just all the time. My nervous system and my fascia, let's say my superficial fascia, which is what I started working on in the beginning. And for people who might not know, the superficial fascia is underneath your skin. You got 3 layers of skin, and then you got your subcutaneous fat, and then what connects your subcutaneous fat to your muscle layer. The first layer around your muscle belly. If you think about your bicep, like there's a layer around that. There's a layer around your shoulder, around your arm, like tricep, everything. And that layer is all around your body. That's called the river of life. It starts developing 2 weeks to 4 weeks in embryological development. It's kind of the glue that holds everything together. It's a chemical network. It's a mechanical network. It's hyaluronic acid, which is 90% hyaluronic acid. And then it's got water, and it's got other proteins that build collagen. So the superficial fascia, it was like I was rubbing my skin the whole time for like 10 years, thinking, oh, there's a little pattern, release that, not too deep. Okay. And then, oh, the pain over here went away. That's interesting. Then I'd get like deep trigger points. So in the deeper, you get deeper fascial layers around the actual muscle bundles themselves. You get more fascial layers. That's all connected. And then I would find these Chinese trigger points all over the place. I started mapping it out. Oh, that's the Chinese trigger point. That's interesting. Okay. And then I'd feel this one, feel another one. Then I started putting into combination. Oh, there's like normally patterns of threes. Then I'd start going, okay, well, most of the time when I massage myself, I'm not like releasing anything in the middle of my arm. It's always around the joint. Then I'm massaging around the joint. Like, okay, now my joint, like, is it my joint? So then there's the muscular tendinous junction where muscle becomes tendon, is also a type of fascia, right? But the superficial fascia can build up like webbing. So it's remember 90% hyaluronic acid. So what's in your skin as well. There's a lot of collagen buildup going on there. It's kind of like a honey collagen. And when that honey starts slowing down, now you stop moving. All of a sudden, what happens to honey? It gets harder and harder and harder. Maybe then you move around again and you injure yourself. Oh, then the honey changes direction and now it's crossed over each other, and then you sleep on it. Boom. So you're sleeping on it now, it gets harder, it gets harder, it gets harder. You wake up in the morning and you stretch and you're like, why does this shoulder feel tighter than that one? What is that? That's not just random. It's because you've compressed the tissue, and it has affected, everything. It's affected the muscles, affected the tendon, it's affected the muscular tendinous junction. It's affected the whole sheath around that specific muscle. Now you add in a whole lot of that dysfunction in the entire body, because you're not one plane of motion. You're a multi-dimensional moving human being. We as bipedal humans, unfortunately, we just walk, everything is in front of us. And then what happens? We go to work and we sit in front of us. And then, hey, we with our family. Hey, we sit at a table and we with our family. And we studying and we on a laptop and we on our phone. We on the phone. Everything. And then, wait for it. Then you go to the commercial gym, which is what fitness. And then you go and do the same thing. You sit down and you shoulder press. And you sit down and you bicep curl. And you sit down and you lat pull down. So you're reinforcing even more dysfunction, because, and this is why it's reinforcing more dysfunction, because how many people, if I had to tell them to do a plank and just hold their body weight up for 1 minute, could efficiently do it perfectly? I'll tell you, over my
Not
16
many.
years of plus experience, not many. Maybe even top bodybuilders, some athletes just ignoring it as part of their conditioning. So the point being is there's a lot of why do we need to get strong if we can't even handle our own body weight? And why do we need to have resistance when we can't even activate our own body just by feel? You should be able to control your movement where you're in control in different ranges. Because if you fall on the floor and you land on your hip, right, and you injure yourself, can you get up from that? Are there options for you to get up out of that position? Are you strong enough to get out of that position? What if you don't have a phone? What if you can't get up and you can't reach a phone? You can't pull yourself up. Now you're stuck in a house. No one can get hold of you. You're on the floor. Yeah, that's a motivating factor, like something to use that you don't want to happen. You can motivate yourself. Oh, I never want that to happen. You know what I need to do? Strengthen my hips, strengthen my knees, or increase my proprioception to balance. I need to balance more because I'm not good at balancing. It's always the thing that people are worried about or feeling that is always the thing right in front of them. It's like, man, yeah, my back's so sore. Okay, well, how much do you train your back? Like if your back's sore because you're sitting forward all the time, your back is trying to pull you back. So you're weak. So to touch on this point, this is also another big nugget, is that a lot of the time, not most of the time, maybe a lot of the time, not all the time, but compensation. So a pattern will build up and it will create compensation. And then you'll feel something and be like, wow, this is so sore. But that's the last place it came from. You were doing something else the whole week that locked up, and now you're feeling this is the last thing. It's like, help, I'm stuck. So, reinforcing that dysfunction, I found over the years, I moved away from that. I went into holistic coaching, and I found with all of my clients, while being a personal trainer, and I worked in Virgin Active, and I saw 20 clients a day back to back, working with people that were young, that were old, athletes, high executive clients, working with big teams. My oldest client was 86 years old. And along the way, I was trying to figure out, can I create a system that works for all of these people? Because I want to help a lot of people. I don't just want to help myself, but how do I give this understanding to the masses? So I started building a system in my mind of movement structure, taking your body through different movement planes: forward, backwards, sideways, rotation, hyperextension, forward rolling, and teaching a systematic way of like, can I do 10 exercises in a row every day for 7 days and see how you feel? So that's part of the system that I've built for people looking to consolidate. There's so much information out there, like, well, how do I get strong? How do I reduce risk of injury? How do I stay fit? How do I enjoy my training? How do I have time for training? How do I get the most out of training? Do I have to train for an hour to see results? Do I have to, if you train 1 hour a week in the gym 5 days a week, that's 3% of your entire week is spent in the gym. Just three. So 97% is based on recovery. Because if you really put it, I don't even sometimes train 5 times a week. Like now I train 3 times a week full body, but I swim 5 times a week. But I don't, again, back to the 100%. You don't go 100% on Monday, 100% on Tuesday, and this is the first week of you starting, and then 100% on Wednesday. By Thursday, you're like, I can't, I'm too sore. Too sore Friday. Saturday, I'm just going to rest. I really train hard this week. Sunday, oh man, I don't know if I can do that again. And then the cycle repeats. So having a system of like, how much do you push your nervous system, that's a hard one. Like we all have, some of us have a very intense desire to be competitive within ourselves and really push ourselves. Some people can just go through the motions and feel, but even if you're going through the motions, you want to do better. And even if you're pushing to the max, eventually you're going to be like, man, I just keep getting injured. I want to do this for a long time. So I've tried to bridge the gap between what really works and what can just be cut out. We don't need that. You don't need that. And present it in a holistic way. So that's what I do for my clients on a physical level in terms of just conditioning. And then on a mindset level, I always start with the mindset. So take my clients through, okay, what are the limiting beliefs that are stopping you from maybe, it's normally always presented in training. Like why do you think you can't do this? Or who told you you can't jump? Who told you you can't skip? Who told you you can't do a handstand? Um, so breaking limiting beliefs is massive because we become those beliefs and that becomes our identity, and you can't move forward until you get through that awareness of yourself. You have to have an awareness. You got to be accountable to yourself and have awareness, because you will try to trick yourself. You'll make excuses. You'll use whatever there is in the book to get out of it or whatever. So I help people break through that. And how do you do that in everything in life? And that just comes from a thought process. It's not so, I mean, it's hard to build those habits, but again, it's a system. How do you train your mind? So training the mind is one of the parts of Axiom. Training the body is one of the parts of Axiom. The first focus, so Axiom runs by 4 principles. We got to restore the nervous system. We got to release the tension. We got to rebuild into that release. So now we've relaxed the nervous system. We've calmed the neurological tone, the tension that's holding on, but it's not damage. It's not an injury. It's maybe a little bit repetitive strain, but it's not, it's just the muscles getting tighter and tighter. And you can go in and physically manipulate that with acupressure, foam rolling, massage therapy, all these things, but it has to be the right application, because you're not just releasing mechanical tone. You're not just releasing tissue. You're releasing muscle tone or tissue tone or tendon tone. It's got a tone, and you can push on the nerve and you can block the nerve, and then the tone goes, oh, I don't have to, hold on, and relax. So I do that all around the body. Obviously, I've done thousands of hours over the years on myself. And what became really interesting over the years, that back to that invisible thread, is that every single injury I had recovered from by my own hand. Every single one, as a top athlete and everything, just this and that and this and that. And it would be on a cycle. So like I would be like, okay, it's really sore. 2 days later, it's not that sore. On the third day, I'd start working on it. Okay, no, a little bit today. Okay, wait, relax, boom. Do some movement, strength. Okay, walk. Okay, that feels a little bit better. And then I'd stop. And then the next day, I'd assess it again, do it again. Next day, assess it again. So it became restore, release, rebuild, reprogram. You cannot heal your body if you are in fight or flight. You can, if a lion walks into the room, just if you close your eyes and you think like, man, if a lion walked into this room right now, how scared you would be. A male lion, just like pride of lions. Like you would shiver, your body would tense up, you feel adrenaline, cortisol, right? That's creating a nervous system state in you to handle a lion walking into the room. There's a lot of stuff going on. That's a lot of adrenaline and hormones and everything. That's trying to keep you alive. So when you go into parasympathetic, which is rest and digest, it's you've got to get your body into a place where it can recover. And back to that 3% in the week, you're training that much, but your recovery is like, oh well, I'm going out, I'm going to bed at 1 o'clock, then I'm going to bed at 7 o'clock, then I'm going to bed at 1 o'clock again, then 2 o'clock, then 3 o'clock, then my eating's all over the place, not really focused on that. Oh, did I drink water? I don't know if I drank water. Most people are dehydrated. The amount of water you have to drink to just operate on a normal day, we are all dehydrated, all of us. And that's also a place for dysfunction, because superficial fascia requires a lot of hydration. So over the years, then, helping myself, that was one thing. But then it became, around 21, I'd apprenticed my therapist. No one could help me. He was the only one. Then I moved to Cape Town. But along the way, working in Virgin Active, a lot of my clients would come in and be like, man, I can't shoulder press today. I've got this niggle. I can't, tricep push down. It's just this thing in my back. So I trigger point, release it. They'd be like, wait, hold on. That just went away like that?
Instantly.
Instantly. So, and I was doing it for myself. So this didn't really, I was like, well, I can do that quickly. Oh, you got a pain? I'll fix it. And then started doing it at parties, around campfires. It became part of who I was.
The awesome
And then
party trick guy.
man, then it just went wild. Like I had guys, they were like, no, tomorrow I'm going in for a lumbar puncture. They need to check my spine. I think I have to have back surgery. I'm like, bro, you're 30 years old. There's no ways you need back surgery. Lie down here, lie on the mat, boom. Okay, feel my proprioception for tension in the body, the patterns that build up. I can feel the compensation, and I can reverse engineer because intrinsically I've done it so many times I can't even remember, that I just know how to get rid of the tension and balance out the body in terms of like physical release. So I can
Okay, so I have a
physically release
question.
you.
I have a
Yes.
question for you. Somebody comes to you with a pain like you do at your friends' parties. Is it as simple as physical manipulation, the correct way will release that pain, and will it come back?
So a little bit of both. I do. You have to breathe into trigger pointing. You can't. that's so sore, right? Your vagus nerve is connected to your breath, right? You have to breathe. Also, you're holding on to energy. You have to release energy. What happens when you breathe out? You release energy. When you breathe out, you're
Yes.
losing body fat. That's how fat oxidation happens. So that's energy there, right? You're breathing in oxygen to give energy, breathing out, giving out energy. It's the cycle of life, duality of
Mm-hmm.
life,
Mm-hmm.
juxtapose of life, yin, yang, electron, proton, all that, right? That's all together. When there's a positive reaction, there's often a negative reaction. So um, using the breath to release was the biggest thing. A lot of therapists don't do that,
Yeah.
especially for 90 minutes. Cueing you to, no, we've got to
Wow.
breathe again. Okay, we've got to breathe again. No, you're talking too much. Your nervous system getting tight. You're thinking about that. Don't do that. Light is coming in. Let's put a mask on your eyes. Let's block the light. That's photosensitivity. That affects your nervous system. The music, the tone, the resonance. Sometimes people's nervous system work straight. Let's quick release. You are ready to go. Some people, you've got to go in so slow
Mm.
because they might spasm. Um, Many different things. So then it became, I'd help that guy, trigger point him. He would stand up, man, no back pain, gone. I canceling the doctor's thing. I had another, and I'm gonna go off here of who I can remember over the years that I've helped, just to give an indication of like, well, what is this guy talking about? Does it really work? Might just be woohoo. This is not possible. But there's been at this point, and it's frightening to say because I'm in the medical industry, and it's like, don't make rash statements. But there's been not
Mm-hmm.
one person I have not been able to help with a musculoskeletal dysfunction. So that's a joint issue or a muscle issue. So that's the baseline of like people coming in. I used to work at Stretch Lab and I would trigger point before going in and they'd sit there 7 years. How long have you not been able to lift your arm like that? 7 years, Dan. Okay, what do you do? I'm a mechanic and I like work up with my arm like that. Okay, chill here. Boom, boom, trigger point. 15 minutes.
Wow.
What? How did you do that? No pain. Yeah, no pain. So to answer your question, does pain come back? I mean, if I work the way it works is if I release something here, now I've released that, I always have to balance out the other side.
Yeah.
That's number one. Balance here, maybe the lats, lower back, everything's connected. So I can trigger point to release pain that could go away day, 2, 3, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, months.
Mm.
But if you don't strengthen out of release,
Mm.
you've already got a weakness. The reason that muscle is active and sending you a signal, or the fascia that's connected to the muscle, that's holding the muscle trapped or holding the tendons trapped, or the muscular tendons junction, which is essentially holding the joint trapped, if you don't release that and strengthen out of it, it will just go back to the weak tissue that it was once before, and it will send a signal back to it, be like, hey, you've been offline too long. We need you to secure the joint. Do your job. Neurological tone. Do your job. Says, oh, well, man, now I'm back in spasm again. So then it comes back. But if you strengthen out of that, then all of a sudden, oh, wait. Oh, now all of a sudden, my joint gets better, joint position, my posture is now better. So now I've been strengthening my joints, but I'm actually aligning myself to my spine. We're trying to align ourselves to no one's spine is perfect, but we're trying to get there.
Mm.
We're trying to just get in space and be like, yeah, I feel strong. Like, but what does strong mean? Does it mean strong to squat 100 pounds, 200 pounds? Does it mean strong to sprint 50 meters in 6 seconds? Does it mean strong to jump 6 feet sorry, like 2 meters, right? In high jump, shot puts, whatever. If you look at the human form, we have so much potential for so many different things. And I've always tried to tie this into human performance development, because you look at high performing individuals, there's something that separates them for doing it for that long than just the person watching it on the screen, right? And that's mindset is number one. You have to have such a different mindset to continue over time and get to that level, but also maintenance of yourself. You have to know, okay, sleep and recovery is number one. If you go ask Michael Phelps what's the number one thing that you had to do, it wasn't training, it was his sleep. He protected
Mm-hmm.
that like gold. He would always, and another thing is, they asked his coach, Bowman, what was the thing that separated Michael or Leon Marchand or Summer McIntosh? These, all of them are elite Olympic swimmers. They're all top 10 in the world, like by splits, hundredths, one hundredths of a second sometimes. But sometimes Michael Phelps is a body length ahead. How is that possible? He trains with, they say, well, on Sundays when everyone is off, because everyone swims Monday to Saturday, 2 sessions a week, 14 sessions, 12 sessions a week. He'd go on a Sunday and swim 10 kilometers, 5 to 10 kilometers, just easy, still moving his body, active recovery, not pushing himself, holding back on being the fastest swimmer in decades, learning how to manage his nervous system so that he would swim every day, and the greatest Olympian of all time, right? So it was management of the system. And that's why you can't do, people do too much too soon or too little for too long. And there's the imbalance. And until you break that habit, you've got to do slow steps. If you need to, this week, you evaluate yourself, you go, man, I am eating so much bread, but I'm also eating so much butter. You say, well, if I cut out the bread, I've cut out the butter. That's a compounding effect of changing habits, right? So there's things like that. And I use that because I love butter. And then when there's butter and bread, there's mayonnaise and cheese. And when there's cheese, there's more cheese. So structuring, and then back to that, you can structure your nutrition, your lifestyle. If you like wine, if you like chocolate, if you like, you can have all those things. You can live a life full of humanity and full of joy and pleasure and the things that you desire, right? But you also have to have the discipline to, most of the time, you should structure it in a way that is, efficient, but then the other 30 or 20% or 10%, whatever you're willing to sacrifice to make your lifestyle the best, that is 100% a possibility. But it takes looking at yourself in the mirror, being accountable for what's holding you back, setting a goal, because you don't know the destination, right? If you just keep driving, you get in a car and you drive, you're like, where are we going? Oh, we're just going for a Sunday drive. Like, okay, well, what are we going to stop somewhere? I don't know. Then you just end up driving around, like, where, don't feel like you have purpose. As soon as you're like, yeah, where are we going? We're going to Disney World. Everyone get in the car. We're going to Disney World. Bob, we need snacks. Okay, this is the best route. On the way, we're stopping at 7-Eleven. Then we're stopping at Walmart. We need things for like you know exactly, because you know where you're going. Along, it doesn't matter that how do I get to Disney World? We'll worry about that later. But what do we need while we get there? What's the most important thing? We can't go there with no money. You can't go there with no backpack, with no water bottle, with a leash for your child.
Yeah.
Think about all the things that can help you, and every person is different. This is what I with my clients I work with. Every person's different. Everyone has different motivating factors. Why do you do what you do? I said that to one of my clients. I said, man, why do you train with me 5 times a week? That's not typical. And you always show up. You're always here. Like, what motivates you to train? It's like, Dan, I got to be honest with you. I hate training. I do it for necessity, because I know that one day I need to be capable. And that was huge for me and then I started using necessity as a motivating tool, because I knew, okay, there's that saying, discipline beats motivation. Your motivation will only take you so far, right? You have to be if I'm motivated, I can be motivated today, man, I really want to be the best at this today. But then tomorrow you're like, man, my dog died and I actually don't want to be the best today. So is that going to stop the show? It's like, yeah, take a break. Like, dog dying is a big one, right? But I'm saying, like, something happens in the day and it's like, I stumped my toe. Now I'm not motivated anymore. Here's a good one. I injured my leg. Now I can't train. You've got 632 other muscles.
Yeah,
Part of your
exactly.
leg, right? There's always something to train. There's never really going backwards. The only reason we think there's going backwards is because we stuck in I need an hour. If I don't train an hour, then that's not going to work.
Hey, Dan.
Adaptation doesn't
Dan.
happen. Yeah.
Give me 1 second. I'm just gonna. I have another podcast right at the top of the hour. I'm gonna message him saying I'll be late, and then we'll find a way to wrap this up. There's so
Yeah,
many
sure.
things. Let me
I
just.
know, sorry. It's like,
That's okay. That's okay. That's
but if
all
you
good.
want me to consolidate, you know, a
If
specific
okay, so
area, or
I'll ask you a question, then we'll go into the wrap up, and and it should be fine. Okay. Yeah. So Dan, it's obvious that your journey, which I admire the fact that you were using your intuition to figure out what to do, and then you figured out what worked, and then you helped other people with that, and then you took it to the next level, and then you're helping so many other people with it. The Kindness Canada Symposium is based on better humans, more mindful, more health. And from your story, I think it's a multiple stage process. Number one, you need to be self aware of what the issue is. You
yeah.
need to get the information on how to resolve it. You need to give yourself some love, your body.
Hmm. Hmm.
And on the other side of that comes relief and pain. So, Dan, what should people be expecting? Are you going to be doing some people get up and do some exercises at the event? What are they expecting from your presentation there?
Yes, I'm hoping for some sort of interactive start to my section, if I'm allowed to in this space. But they also, I don't really even need people to stand up or move. I can do it while they're sitting in the seat. My goal is to shift people's thought process a little bit, or just make them zoom out a little bit and ask them, because I'm going to be probing, you know, certain truths that matter to
Mm,
me. So what I
mm-hmm.
say, you know, might not be true to you. It's only true to me. So what if I speak my truth and you can relate to my truth, and it sits with you and it makes you think, man, okay, actually I can correlate that to my life in this way or that way. We're all going through the same human experience. I think the biggest message that I want to get across to people is that, again, going back to how people, I need the surgery, I've got frozen shoulder, a spinal surgeon, a functional scoliosis, I'll never be the same again, back to alignment, 6 months. Another guy, my hip femur socket was eaten away because I gave a kidney away and it deteriorated the capsule. I'll never be able to walk properly again. I'm just in pain. Climbed Kilimanjaro and led the pack, no pain, right? So these are some of the cases I've worked with, and it goes on. It's always the same thing. You, man, no, I've been told to have surgery. Sometimes people need surgery, right? I'm not saying that's not the case,
Yeah,
but a lot of the time, it's not just your body is shouting at you and there's nothing going on. Like either you have some serious pathological condition, you've eaten something and you have a allergic reaction, or stuff is building up over time that you're not taking care of because you're stuck in a frame of mind, a frame of movement, and a frame of life. And I'm there. I want to break that shell open and show people, like, if you just look at it a little bit differently, there are ways to get through the fears that you have around whatever it is in your life. And, you know, tying that into fixing your body in a holistic way. Like, how do you do that? How do you get strong, eat well, sleep well, you know, have good relationships, have a good mindset? How do you stay motivated? How do you stay disciplined? How do you release this tension? Like, how? No one's shown me how to properly breathe through this. Where are the trigger points? What are the best practices to release anxiety and stress straight away? Where are those trigger points? I'll show you. I know where they are. I can map. When I trigger point my clients, I have to breathe with them because it brings back the feeling of every time. So this is in all of us. I'm not different to any other human being. I'm just on the extreme end of the things
mm-hmm.
that people feel on a daily basis where they call, I've got a knot, I've got this pain in my back. I am experiencing that nonstop all the time. So I have to be a little bit OCD with this. But in turn, my pain has become my teacher, and it's a beautiful experience. I didn't think this would be. I hoped it would be part of my life. I always loved
Yeah,
putting my hands on people and doing this for people, and it just always the same thing over and over again. And 100% of the time, this is not a lie, 100% of the time, the person will look up at me and be like, wow, no one's ever done that. I don't even understand. How did you do that? You have a gift, magic hands, whatever it is, it's the same thing. But we have this capability in us to regenerate our body and heal our body and tap into that healing. It's just about, and to close, knowledge is power, or is application of knowledge.
Dan, thank you for bringing your energy and your knowledge. I know, I can feel that people will resonate with you and that you'll be able to make a huge impact for a lot of people's lives. I personally have so many other questions and so many other things that I would like to talk about. So maybe we'll do that in person. But unfortunately, we're going to have to conclude this podcast. And yeah, wow, I'm just so impressed, Dan.
Thank you, Mark. It's been a great day. Thank you so much for having me on, and looking forward to meeting you in October.
We'll see you at the event.